Welcome, everybody, to the Ball and Breakfast Podcast. I'm Patrick Miller alongside Wayne Fua, as always, here to kick off NFL Week 1 with you guys. Also, we'll dig into the MLB and what they're proposing to do to, change the game for all of us watchers, hopefully improve the product overall. And outside of that, we have a NBA owner who's not going to be around, in his suite this year in Phoenix, Robert Sarver. So we're going to talk about what he did, what the reaction to what he did was, and whether or not we thought it was stiff enough or appropriate. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Wayne in a segment that we're going to do for NFL Week 1, all of our reactions. We're going to either say pass or grass for wanting to cover it. So for NFL Week 1, the first matchup I'm going to throw over to Wayne if he wants to pass on it or enjoy the grass would be the Buffalo Bills, defeating the Los Angeles Rams 31-10 on Thursday night.
I mean, I'll definitely grasp this. I mean, that was a fun game and everything. That was watching with a buddy of mine, eat some pizzas and everything. It was just, I think the key thing was, like, it was just astonishing how the defending Super Bowl champions, who really didn't lose too many key pieces. I mean, I know they lost Von Miller, but they still have Aaron Donald and everything. So Jalen Ramsey. So it's like, man, how did they just get demolished so much? But, the Bills had been predicted by a lot of, NFL experts to take it all the way or at least be voted as like the best overall team. They did add Von Miller and everything to an already excellent team from last year. And, Josh Allen definitely looked, he looked really good in the second half. I think both teams kind of had those 2 interceptions. They were like kind of tip passes or, just, slightly bad timing and kind of bobbled balls. But overall, 99% of the time looked amazing out there. So definitely, I think a great game overall, especially if you're a Bills fan. But yeah, it was just astonishing of how lopsided eventually got towards the end, even with all the turnovers that were caused by the Rams. They were still able to score a bunch of points, and they scored 30 some odd points here and limited the Rams offensively. So great game overall for the Bills, and a nice statement victory, I think, in the beginning of the season when the Rams are getting their rings. So yeah, I think that was definitely a fun game overall. And got to see Odell also Beckham in the sidelines, being Odell Beckham. So yeah, I think it was a fun game overall. But it was amazing to see the Bills just kind of like show their dominance right now and have that statement game right at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, definitely. Josh Allen, dropping the 20-yard pass over to Gabe Davis to kind of, kick off the affair. I got so excited, after doing our fantasy drafts and just talking him up and, trying to put my money where my mouth was on him. But just gave me some of that security, just knowing right off the bat, like he's willing to target him on some big plays. Also, Stephon Diggs got his work, throughout the game, especially with a late deep ball on Jalen Ramsey. I feel like Ramsey was giving him, he was taunting him on a play where, Ramsey broke it up. I think it was on a, end zone attempt for a score, and Diggs gave it right back. And, when he scored his own touchdown. So I just kind of felt like that was his own vindication, but not surprised that Buffalo won the game. Little surprised at the outcome of the score. I mean, just to kind of wallop them in their own house was pretty awesome. But, having vibes about the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, when you win a Super Bowl and you're kind of like a newly established team, you're not really like, the Patriots of, the dynasty years, or a team that's like real savvy, real veteran-like. I mean, Los Angeles still is kind of fresh in terms of being like a contender. So for them to maybe get overzealous on ring night and just, kind of, take a step back or just kind of appreciate their moment for their, championship last season. I mean, the Bills are as hungry as any team in the NFL and just kind of stepped up and showed like we're ready to play this year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Davis definitely came out. So I was kind of thinking of you when I saw all that come about and everything. But man, it was just amazing to see overall. Still, Allen Robinson's not getting any love. I think that was like the whole funny part. I think like a lot of people are predicting him to like have a good game and everything. I think Matthew Berry might have said something about it, and a lot of people are giving him stuff. Like, yeah, Allen Robinson didn't really get that many targets or anything like that. And Devery Henderson now is being picked up by a lot of leagues. So, he got a bulk of the carries. Cam Akers just was not utilized at all. So, from the fantasy perspective, this game really, revealed a lot, I think, to how players are drafted and everything, and how fantasy teams are restructuring now. Because a lot of people are drafting Cam Akers, fairly in the first 3-4 rounds, right? So this is not a good showing for all the Cam Akers drafters out there, I would say. So
yeah, no, I mean, I hear you on A-Rob. Definitely a clunker for him. To his benefit, I heard that he played on 75 of 77 snaps for what it's worth. They only put up 10 points as a team, so they're going to have to find creative ways to move the ball instead of just trying to force feed Cooper Kupp this year. You're right about Cam Akers. Like I said, I feel like when we did our fantasy, draft predictions or kind of going over who we thought would be good picks, he gave me a little bit of heartburn just because, he's coming off his own injury and kind of always feels like McVay is similar to Shanahan. He'll use whoever to get the ball moving, and he's okay swapping in parts for, backs, and he'll ride a horse for a while. And it kind of felt like, maybe McVay and Shanahan and, others with that kind of mindset are kind of that same ilk. So to see Akers kind of not do really anything at all wasn't so shocking. And who knows, by week 5, he could be like the feature back. So we'll just have to hold our breaths.
Yeah, I mean, it's early on in the season. I think, there's this whole overreaction. Is it Tuesday or whatever? Overreactions for week 1. Who knows? Injuries could happen, or maybe Devery doesn't show up for some games, or a lot of things can happen. So again, this is early on the season. So if you are a Cam Akers draftee, maybe you should panic a little bit, but who knows what could happen? Week 4, week 5, maybe, knock on wood and God forbid everything, Henry gets injured or whatever. So a lot of things could happen. But it definitely does not look good for Akers or Akers holder here. So, yeah.
Ditto. I guess moving on to the next matchup, pass or grass on New Orleans Saints versus the Atlanta Falcons. It was a 27-26 victory by the New Orleans Saints.
I will pass off to you. Yeah,
I'm going to quickly make a comment and then I'm going to pass this one too. But for Atlanta to be up in the first half, kind of taking it to them, and get dogged in the second half, and New Orleans probably should have won that game as it is, but I was kind of looking down at halftime and I was like, wow, they're really putting it on the Saints right now. That's kind of crazy, and just brought back those New England Patriot Super Bowl vibes when just kind of ran within the second half and put them away 31-28 or what have you. So just remind me of that. But not much to say. It's too early, and the Saints should have won that ball game. Moving on to the next one, we have the San Francisco 49ers losing to our Chicago Bears. Bears 19, Niners 10. What did you think about this? Pass or grass?
Oh, I mean, hey, I'll grass this shit. I mean, yeah. There was a lot of water involved. And kudos to Eberflus for saying hey, let's switch to this other kind of grass, right? It's a little bit firmer. With all this water, what would have happened? People could have got hurt, injured, or it seemed like the ground was a little bit more solidified for them in this whole thing. So, but Justin Fields showed up when he needed to. Didn't have the most perfect game, or even with the whole. Even with all the rain and everything, was definitely not made for passing. So, I kind of want to toss this game out the window to evaluate, if you will, Trey Lance or Justin Fields. But, Justin Fields made those plays. He made, that kind of scramble and then threw a 51-yarder to Dante Pettis. So that was definitely a great play that he made with his feet, and buying some time, and then passing the opposite field to a wide open Pettis there. So a lot of good plays in that sense. I think Arlovsky actually pointed out there was that one play for the St. Brown TD, right, where I think Pringles was kind of showing that they were going to be running, and then kind of off of play action, the linebackers bought, and St. Brown kind of had a wide open TD essentially there, as well as Pringles too. So it was a nice solid job there. Definitely nice to have that veteran wide receiver to help out with that. There was the defense definitely played well. Limited Trey Lance. Trey Lance, he had some decent plays here and there. So I wouldn't totally call him out either, saying he was terrible. Again, this was definitely not a game made for passing. There was just Justin Fields definitely just made some plays, 2 big plays that it resulted in touchdowns. It ran for some decent yards too. So and defensively, Eddie Jackson was great to see him kind of create that, get that interception. I really hope that he starts and becomes that ball hawk that we used to see 2018 and everything. If we can get a little bit of that, that would be great. The secondary looked pretty solid. Dominique Robinson, the rookie, the 5th rounder, I think it was from Miami, Ohio, had, I think it was 7 tackles and 1.5 sacks. So solid game from the rookie there. Offensive line did okay. I think they had a pretty decent PFF rankings and all. I think Tevin Jenkins had a 78 or something like that, and I think they had an 88% win rate from pass protection or something like that, which I guess that sounds pretty good. I think it was 60 is the average or something. But overall, I think the offensive line played decent. There were a couple plays here and there. I think there were some sacks, a couple of sacks here and there. But overall, with a team like the Niners and such a good defense with them, and then playmakers like Bosa, things are going to happen in that sense. So I think Braxton Jones had a decent game. He definitely needs to work on not getting bull rushed so easily, or maybe not easily, but that is his Achilles heel is getting bull rushed a little bit. But overall, solid game from the left tackle spot. And I think that my one takeaway is, is Herbert going to get more touches? Is he going to outdo Montgomery here? He looked a lot better. Definitely had more of that burst going past the line and everything, the line of scrimmage. So, he could, again, it's early in this whole fantasy, world and everything, but he looked really good coming out of the backfield a little bit more so than Montgomery at this point. So, that could be something to see going up for the next couple of weeks. But Pat, enough of me talking about the Bears. Would love to hear about, what did you think about this whole slip inside game?
A lot of fun to watch the highlights back. I actually was driving for a while in my car around this game time, so I wasn't able to catch the game itself, but was keeping up with scores. Just seeing them kind of all slipping and sliding after the game and after the victory. Seems like the team's really united. I know, talent aside and kind of where they're at in their process aside, it seems like there's some really good camaraderie, being built in Chicago. Even just hearing Eberflus's post game with his team in the huddle and kind of, them giving him a game ball and giving Poles a game ball. You could just kind of feel like maybe it was just because they got a big victory and things like that. But I also think, genuinely speaking, they seemed like they're ready for this new era too. I don't have a lot of concerns about, picking the Niners as my NFC West division champ for this year. I think that, people might be quick to judge or quick to be, kind of dismissive of, Trey Lance as a starting quarterback, or, now that Eli Mitchell is down, what's going to happen with their backfield, et cetera. But in a game like this, I'm happy we came out with a W. I also think that, just kind of the conditions and everything else might have changed, our favor or theirs, not to play the fence or anything like that. But, I think week 1, there's also some weirdness. I feel like, looking at, other games that we'll discuss and, some of the ones we just did, I mean, there's some really challenging outcomes to kind of think about if you're placing bets or if you're like trying to understand what's going to happen this season. But encouraging sign. Glad they got a W to start, and we'll just see where it goes.
Yeah, for sure. And it was Justin Fields that was giving those game balls. I think that was the cool part. Like, it's nice when the quarterback, the future franchise quarterback, right, for the Bears is giving those game balls. It feels like empowered to give those game balls to the head coach and the GM. And it was like, it was kind of like, he finally has a head coach that he can believe in and believes in him, and has a GM that seems like he's knows what he's doing and everything, and setting them up for success. So good week 1 victory. I'm happy as a Bears fan. But yeah, it's a long season. Definitely want to be optimistic though. So thankful for any win that we can get this season, I would say. So yeah,
for sure. Pass or grass, New York Giants beating the Tennessee Titans 21-20.
I will pass this for you. I want to hear your thoughts on this game here.
I don't have a lot, honestly. I feel like great win for Brian Dable. His opening game with the Giants felt like Daniel Jones was doing Daniel Jones type things. I mean, threw a pick in the end zone for a score. It's one of the things where he's going to have to prove, I think this is his final look as a starting quarterback in the NFL. If you don't do it this year, like, we got to move forward. Good to see Saquon Barkley bounce back, put up some monster numbers. I mean, I feel like from fantasy perspective, those who drafted him probably got him in the second round or so. He might return, a lot of value on that investment, but he might also get injured. So we just got to kind of hold our breath here. Underwhelming for the Titans, but I also kind of feel like they're going to take somewhat of a step back this year. Just not a really good start to be at home against the Giants and kind of blow it. So what'd you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key thing was Saquon Barkley. This is age 25 year for the running back. So I do remember in my fantasy draft, I was thinking about either him or Pittman. Pittman had a great game. I just felt better about him, but I'm glad to see Saquon, being utilized, and had probably like the second best looking debut here in the first game of the season. Maybe number 1 might be Jonathan Taylor, but yeah, like he had as good of a game as possible, I think, that Saquon can have. So kudos to him, and kudos to Dable for utilizing him. But yeah, like you said, Daniel Jones definitely doesn't seem like the answer. This is, I guess, the prove it deal. But at the same time, I don't know any Giants fan that's like, yeah, I believe in him. Like, we're totally fine. We're totally fine for the future. So, and yeah, Tennessee Titans, it just seems like they've already hit their peak, I think, and this team is kind of going a little bit more downhill from here. But they still have some talent for sure, and Vrabel is a pretty good coach. So they'll definitely win some games here and there. But this is definitely not a good start to their season. Losing to the Giants at home, like that's not a good start. That doesn't set the tone well.
Let the timer begin for Malik Willis to take the reins at quarterback. This season, I feel like Tannehill bringing in some of that negative energy to start off the year just by not embracing him and not being like just openly a good teammate about it in the press is kind of like just say the standard line, like, I'm here for him, I'm gonna coach him, even if you want to be the most competitive guy in the world. I just feel like that's just a really bad leadership example there. It's just, I mean, that kind of falls on his shoulders, and it probably created some tensions to kind of kick off camp, if I were to guess. But anyways, I don't think either team are going to be contending really seriously this year. So it's kind of a forgettable game to me. Moving forward, this one got interesting. Pittsburgh Steelers upset the Cincinnati Bengals on the road, 23-20. Pass or grass on this one?
I can grass this. Trubisky, man, like, came in the clutch there. It was nice to see him. Throw some nice passes here and there. I think he had just under like 200 yards and 38 passes. But yeah, kudos to him on that. It was sad to see Najee Harris get hurt. It looks like he'll be available for week 2 though. So, for the fantasy owners, including myself, like, okay, this is okay. We're okay. So hopefully he heals up, for this week and everything. But yeah, the Steelers defense looked really good. They looked really good. Minka Fitzpatrick was playing crazy. They were getting to Burrow. So, all that money that they spent on the offensive line, the Bengals did, probably didn't do too much there. So, it's interesting that the 2 Super Bowl teams, from this past season, both lost their openers here. So, I found that pretty interesting. But this really also just goes to show, like we were talking about this before, about this whole, like, Tomlin and the Steelers, like, they're not that bad of a team. Like, they had an aging Roethlisberger, they kind of bring him to the playoffs, right, and everything. So it's like, they had a lot of their talent, a lot of their players come back. They have some playmakers on defense. You can always win a lot of games or win some games with that. And then, they also have some wideouts, some players on the outside, Claypool, and then, Najee Harris, probably one of the best running backs in the game, like, okay, whatever line, here and there for sure. But, that with great coaching, you can definitely go a long way. So it was good to see the Steelers there. And yeah, sad to see, I guess, the Bengals, with all the turnovers and killing themselves in this game. But, like I said, it's a long season. This is the first game of the season. So, they just got a lot of talent, too much talent, I feel like, to kind of let down here. It was just wasn't their week.
Yeah, Burrow seemed to start off pretty slow. I mean, multiple picks. I think it was kind of the hangover thing we were talking about with the Rams. I think, not to say that they're going to stop their progress as a team. They won't be competitive. But I think when you get to the promised land like that and, now all the pressure's on you, people are, looking forward to playing you. And you got a tough division opponent in Pittsburgh. I don't care, who their, quarterback is now or, what changes they kind of went through. Like, that's always going to be a game that, brings out the best in everyone. And, not really surprising, not surprising that it was close. Alex, Highsmith on the Steelers had 3 sacks. I know Hayward had 1. TJ Watt, I think it was running roughshod too. I think he might've tore his pec. So we'll see, what the aftermath of that's going to be. I heard it could be up to like 6 weeks out or more if it's a, more serious injury. But I was with you on Najee. Glad he found the pay dirt. Didn't put up awesome numbers, but with his Liz Frank injury, and now, I think they were talking about a high ankle sprain. Hopefully it's not the same foot it might be, but you just hope that the reoccurring injuries don't come back, to him from a football and a fantasy perspective. But also just interesting to see, what Trubisky showed out there. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of up and down in his game, but his last drive was notable. I mean, he was making good passes, good decisions with the, clock running, and, got it into a position for Chris Boswell to make that big field goal. So, you got to put some respect to his name on his first, kickoff start with the new, franchise. And, Kenny Pickett is still kind of waiting in the wings, but, I think Mitch bought himself probably, a couple extra weeks with that win.
Yeah, no, I mean, that game basically was like, as good as we've seen, I guess, with Mitch Trubisky for the Bears too. It's like, he's not going to always light up, the game. Like, for whatever reason, he can't read a defense and just pass, like, for good yardage. He's always like averaging 7 yards, completion or something like that, right? So it's like, today's NFL, that's just not acceptable. I think Mac Jones, was like, people complain about his like arm or whatever. Like, I think he averages 10. So it's like, yeah, okay. There's he just hasn't been making that many good plays overall. But at the end of the game, though, he all of a sudden just turns it on, like almost like a Tim Tebow type of thing, right? Where it's like he might suck the 80% of the game, but that last 20%, like Superman comes out. So like we remember this whole thing when the double doink game, right? I hate to bring it up, against the Eagles, but he put the team in position to win that game and everything, and yeah, that didn't happen. So, but yeah, good to see, I guess, Trubisky from that. He seems like a good guy. It's just, maybe yeah, I wish he was good at reading defenses as good as he was, being a decent human being and talking to the press. Okay, so
yeah. He's not an abomination of a quarterback. I think it's just, we put so much pressure and there's so much weight on him being a star because, you traded up and you trade all these other assets and everything else like that. But at the end of the day, I mean, can he be a winning quarterback in the NFL? Yeah. Could he be a good spot starter? Yeah. Or, could he be a really nice backup? Could he be a Jimmy G? Like maybe. So, I think, brick by brick, he's going to start to, build a career for himself in whatever form that takes. But I think he's an NFL quarterback for sure.
Yeah, I think if he can be like, a somewhat like, I don't know, like Alex Smith-ish type, I feel like that would be good for him. See if he can be with the team like for like a couple of years, that has a good squad around him, win some games here and there for sure. Or be behind, kind of like where he is right now, where you have a young quarterback that, might take a year or two to groom up a little bit. If that's the case, hey, ball out, give them no excuse to look over your shoulder, try to do as best as you can. But yeah, certainly this kid has a lot of talent. I call him a kid. He's like 26 now or something like that.
That's a kid.
Yeah, that's a kid these days. Yeah, he's a '90s kid, right? So, but yeah, like he's still a decent quarterback. Still has a lot of athleticism and can make plays here and there. It's just consistency, I think, has always been his key thing that he hasn't just put all together for.
For sure. Well, we'll be watching for Mitch this year and see what he can do as a starter yet again in the NFL. On to the next game: the Green Bay Packers 7, Minnesota Vikings 23. Pass or grass, Wayne?
I'll pass it off to you because I want to hear your take on this, on kind of this, what happens to like Aaron Rodgers and everything and that offense there.
Well, all I'll say is if we rewind 1 year ago to the, first game of last season when the Green Bay Packers played the New Orleans Saints in whatever stadium that was it Jacksonville? I don't know. It was somewhere out yonder because New Orleans wasn't playable, but they got killed by Jameis Winston and, the Saints crew that season last season. But it's kind of like everybody rushed to judgment way too quickly. And I feel like this always happens in week one. Jameis Winston is, the priority pickup. He's the must-have quarterback. He threw 5 TDs, Aaron Rodgers, time to drop him. His days are over. The Packers are doomed, ... What ends up happening, the Packers find themselves, winning another division, hosting another playoff game. New Orleans was very much, kind of average to, a little bit above average. Winston was injured. He was up and down with his play. So again, we flash forward to this year and Aaron Rodgers walks into the game without Alan Lazard, without Devontae Adams. He's working with a rookie receiver core and some receivers that probably don't belong in the NFL anymore. I just kind of take it as, from the Green Bay side of things, like, number one, it seems like they kind of always start this way, just like they start kind of, all right, yeah, like just we want you to doubt us a little bit, or we might pick this up in the second half, but not to the discredit of the Minnesota Vikings. I feel like Kevin O'Connell came out, had a really balanced offense going, attack with Cousins. Justin Jefferson had a day. We're not surprised. Seemed to get Adam Thielen involved, KJ Osborne. We'll kind of have to see where it all goes. I mean, defensively, I feel like that's the one thing that analysts are talking about with the Vikings and maybe a liability of theirs. But if they're a team that is poised on offense and can take a step with a new scheme and a new coach, they could be contenders in the NFC. I mean, they could be contending for some sort of playoff spot. So so I guess I kind of focus my thoughts on Green Bay, but did you see anything else, or do you have any other kind of reaction to this?
Yeah, no, I think like with Christian Watson, there was that one play. It was a walk-in touchdown basically. That he just dropped, like flat out dropped it. Typical rookie. Whatever, right? So, um, I definitely think that they just need to get the nerves out. Am I banking that what the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers are going to go, 0-17 or whatever? Like, yeah, this is overreaction week, whatever. But I think they're going to fine tune things on the offensive side. That should help out. Everything on the defensive side too, and then make some plays. Maybe a couple of weeks from now, Christian Watson, they find him catching that kind of pass and going for a touchdown. I think I remember that after he missed that pass or he dropped that pass. They didn't pass to him until like the fourth quarter, like at the end of the game. So, and this is like their highly touted rookie wide receiver. I also know they got Romeo Doubs as well. So it's like, they're going to be passing towards Watson more so in the future. They just need to, work on the timing, work on, building up his confidence, like all those things, which that's all going to take some time. But, I don't know how I'm going to, sit here and just doubt that the Green Bay Packers are not going to put up some wins, not going to go on some hot streak or whatever here. I think the other thing I'd add there is, at least with the Packers is, with AJ Dillon, it seems like, he's going to be getting just more reps. I think compared to maybe Aaron Jones. For whatever reason, they just didn't want to go to Aaron Jones as much, in this game. So, I think AJ Dillon was a leading wide receiver for the Packers, and then also had more carries than Aaron Jones here. I don't know if it was just they wanted Aaron Jones fresh or whatever for the remainder of the season or what have you, but it certainly seems like things are leaning more so to AJ Dillon here. So interesting showing in that aspect for the Packers, but yeah, it's going to be hard for me to be like Packers are not going to be a thing in a couple weeks. Vikings looked, as good of a game as I guess you can ask from them. Like you said, Jefferson killed it. Defense, we'll see how this goes. It definitely was, not the best Packers showing, but maybe got to give some kudos to the Vikings here too. Only limiting Aaron Rodgers to under 200 yards. Like, I don't care who, if they are kind of rookie wide receivers and like, an aging like Watkins and Randall Cobb. That's still impressive there. So, Vikings look pretty good, set themselves up for a good remainder of the season. And in a division that seems like it's winnable. So
for sure. Next game, we had the Philadelphia Eagles winning 38-35 over the Detroit Lions in Detroit. Wayne, pass or grass on this one?
I'll pass it off to you. Yeah, I feel like because I knew you were like a big Jalen Hurts person here, so
yeah, I had a good feeling about the Eagles coming into this year. I mean, reading up on Pro Football Focus's analysis of the entire team, seemed like they had the top line in the league. They've got an improved defense. They've got a new weapon in AJ Brown, and it's Jalen Hurts' third season with the team. He's now kind of plugged in as the starter. He knows Nick Sirianni a little bit better. And they came out of the gate smoking. They were up 24-7 at the half, or I should say 14 at the half. But, also had a big third quarter as well. I think they got up by about 3 scores at one point. But Hurts was running all over the field. He had 90 yards rushing. Had 200 plus yards passing. I don't believe he had a TD, but was just connecting with AJ Brown all game, kind of showing some of the rapport that those two can have. Kind of encouraged to see. On the other side of the ball, Detroit not really giving up and just being kind of a doormat. It seemed like they definitely pushed back. And, Amon-Ra St. Brown and, DJ Chark coming over from the Jaguars. I mean, they kind of proved that they're, pretty good 1-2 punch. Like, I think that is a really, decent receiving core there. DeAndre Swift, everyone's talking him up as being a first round type player in our fantasy league. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see. I always have a tough time believing that from a Detroit back, but he had a pretty good year last year. So, I think it's kind of showing one that, the Eagles to me now, given what's happened in another game in the NFC East are kind of stepping out as clearly the favorites at this point to win that division. And then, Detroit might, I don't know if it'll always translate into wins, but hey, they're gonna punch back a little bit, and it's kind of good to see them, even though they're in our division. It's just like I hate watching a team just like suck forever. Like it's just kind of nice to see like, hey, they've got something going here, whatever it is.
Yeah, for sure, and definitely like one of the most I guess I don't know underrated or overlooked wide receivers, St. Brown on the Lions. So like if you're a fantasy owner, you know him more so, but maybe he's not a household name. But 8 receptions, 64 yards, touchdown. But he's going to get those targets and he's going to contribute. And yeah, they definitely are a team that when they have their back against against the wall, I feel like they show up and they start attacking. They're kind of like a pesky, like I guess a little brother or something like that, if you want to look at it that way. But Swift, liked him. Coming out here, definitely showed up here. So maybe next week 2, we might see more action of him earlier on in the game and going forth from there, and maybe become more of a featured back because averaged almost 10 yards a carry here. So for a team like that wants to keep things maybe close, maybe they do run the ball a little bit more. But Eagles, they're honestly going to be like, it seemed like kind of like I don't say like the Ravens or something like that, but they might be leading the league in rushing, I think, this year, with like Sanders and Hurts, and with the Ravens not having that backfield like solidified. So that they certainly could be a that kind of offense, that kind of team. And yeah, you can't underestimate the essence of like continuity for like a good offense that you're working with, or a team that knows how to win. So if you're winning and you have a pretty decent offensive scheme, you're a young quarterback and you're developing, having some continuity pieces, which Jalen Hurts has, certainly has been helping. And it certainly helps to have, your newly acquired wide receiver getting some catches, 10 receptions, 155 yards here. So good to see you, good overall game, I think, from the Eagles standpoint. But yeah, you got to blow out you got to put your foot on the neck against the Lions, I would say. But yeah, Lions can be pesky.
Yeah. So we'll see. Overall, yeah, good game. I mean, I stick to my point. I guess I think the Eagles are going to step out this year, and maybe even take a further step than just winning a division. But we'll have to wait and see. Yeah. On to the next one, we have the New England Patriots losing to the Miami Dolphins 20-7 in Miami. Wayne, pass or grass?
I mean, I'll pass it off to you. I feel like I feel like you have a lot to contribute at these. I'll save some of my stuff for the later games, though.
Yeah, no, this one was so boring, man. I mean, I don't have much to say, really. Like, it just this is like who I thought they were. Both teams. Like, I don't even know how to dissect this one. It's like 20-7 at Miami. New England, for whatever reason, post Tom Brady, are like the most boring, uncreative team of all time. Like, it's so sad. And it's like, I'm getting to that point where I'm like, Belichick's done an amazing job throughout his career, with New England and being, arguably the greatest coach of all time in NFL history. Is it his time? Like, is this the final year for me? Like, I might consider it, because if I was Mac Jones, I'd just be like, dude, please unleash me. Like, I have a lot of talent. There are some guys here that, I could get the ball to. I could get the ball to a Hunter Henry. I could get the ball, to, Kendrick Bourne or Jacoby Myers, or, I got 2 backs behind me when Damian Harris had 15 tutties last year. And I've got, Ramondre Stevenson, who everyone's like gushing about and stuff. It's like, just do something, man. Cause it's just like, are we just going to play James White ball like all year, every year, and just be like this, team that's always looking to scrounge around for like wide receiver 4s to make into studs? It's like, I'm just so bored with this team, man. It's like, I don't know. It's really getting me going, but I don't care about the Patriots. I was just kind of like, man, come on. Like, let's get it going, dude. Like, this is just, you're just wasting everyone's time. And then Miami, same kind of thing. Like, yeah, we got these, we got Tyreek Hill, we got Mostert, we got Chase Edmonds, we got, new coach. He's a brainiac, love child from, Shanahan's tree. And it's like, okay, 20 points at home. Like, Tua is being very safe. And like, very conservative and, had a decent completion percentage. There's nothing to really like poke holes about. It's just like a very boring game. So I take nothing away from this. If anything, they're both going to be playing around 500 this year, below or a tick above, not very high above 500, but it's like, this is just how I felt about this one. I kind of feel like these two teams are just going to annoy me from like a football perspective all year.
Yeah, well, there definitely needs to be serious discussions, I think, with Belichick, and it's like, yeah, hey man, like you're slowing down a little bit. Maybe you ought to like throw away your GM duties and your personnel like decision making a little bit, outsource that stuff. We'll get some sleep, take over the coaching side. You'll definitely work together and all of that, but yeah, like this is not sexy. This is not a sexy team whatsoever. There's no sex whatsoever in this in this team for sure. So they just don't have the pieces. I feel like they don't know what to do with any talent. They don't know how to look for talent. I feel like they don't know how to take like high risk, high reward. Like it's no risk whatsoever. So
practicing a lot of abstinence for sure.
Yes. Basically, the Patriots are, choir boys, minus the Catholic Church, right? So.
Yes, please stay away. Don't get us canceled, please.
Boston. Yeah. So, but yeah, like there definitely is that sense of, how they're going to look like, I know that they went to like the playoffs like last year and they had a pretty decent season in that sense, but it's hard, especially after this game, looking at that, like, how are they going to like their offense looked anemic and everything. So, yeah, it's hard to get excited for this team. And then, Dolphins did upgrade. Like they did get Tyreek Hill. They did hit Waddle on that large, long touchdown basically there. So, yeah, it was good to see Logic, the coach, get his first window. Seems like a pretty cool guy and a decent person there. So, hey, if they can pull away with this division, maybe we'll see. But for all the knock on Tua not being able to throw the ball, he looked pretty good, or he looked decent. I think all of that was a little bit social media blown up out of proportion. So
yeah, like I don't look at Tua and say like this guy could be top 10, but I also don't look at him and be like he's terrible and you need to find his like replacement ASAP. It's just that game is just that's Tua. That was his game. Like, and it's like not fun, dude. It's just like, all right, it's going to be a lot of dink and dunk. It's going to be, it's just going to be like a game that is fine. It's solid, but it doesn't give, a GM like confidence. Like I've got my guy and we're like locked and loaded and we're ready to like take this to where we wanted to take it when we brought all these pieces in, it's like just very safe, both sides. So for sure. Next one, we had kind of a shootout in the Valley. The Chiefs won 44-21 over the Arizona Cardinals. Wayne, pass or grass?
I'll take this because this is the opposite of the no sex game. There's a lot of
this is dominatrix right here.
Yeah. No, for sure. But yeah, Chiefs. Mahomes looked really good. 5 touchdowns. I think PFF like had him as like 6th ranked, which everybody's like, how do you throw 5 touchdowns? Like look like almost like basically throw like a perfect game essentially, and then get like number 6. Like that didn't make any sense. So Chiefs look great. Mahomes looks like an MVP candidate and everything. There was definitely that whole talk of like, okay, with Hill gone now, who are the Chiefs going to be passing to? So they, everybody, they definitely divvied up the workload. My running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire got 2 touchdowns. And I started him much to the chagrin of Matthew Berry and everything too. So I was like, it was good to see that he was getting some passes out of the backfield. So it seems like he's going to be a contributor, whether it be closer to the red zone and going that way. I know he's going to, they got Pacheco too. So, but yeah, it was good to have that. And then Juju Smith-Schuster got some targets, some reps there. And then, we'll see. Maybe they'll throw in a little bit more Sky Moore. I know this was his first game, got a 30-yarder, I believe. So, again, this is the first game. There's going to be a lot more, just developing that continuity with some of the players overall. But yeah, it looked like as good of a game, as good of a start to the season as you can possibly ask for. I feel like as a Chiefs fan there. Cardinals, they definitely, maybe they did miss like that Hopkins factor or something like that. Kyle Murray, like, I don't know how much tape he watched, but didn't have like an explosive game, didn't do too much, or like didn't hurt the secondary for the Chiefs at all, really. So Connor, they were able to maintain him for most of the game. I know he did score that touchdown, but that's kind of his thing, but didn't really like have an explosive or game or anything like that, or move the line of scrimmage too much there. It was good to see. It's interesting that Dorsch got a lot of the catches there. So it seems like Dorsch is going to be featured more there. So, but yeah, not an explosive game. I think the Chiefs they had a good defensive plan, and like I said, Chiefs played as good as a game as I think you can ask. For the first game of the season against a pretty competent opponent, I would say, with the Cardinals. They definitely have their flaws, but yeah, they're still a solid team. So
yeah, I think Mahomes is gonna be interested to see that PFF ranked him 6th. I mean, I think that's just another thing that he'll just like look at all week and then come out and just keep showing people that he's still the man. And definitely, I think people are trying to pour a little bit of water on KC, or maybe just amp up some other teams around the league just to like, give them the Super Bowl favorite odds because, they're the, the newcomers or, tasted a certain level of success. And now they've gotten an extra, signing or two that's going to take them over the top. I feel like that always happens after an NFL offseason. And no, I mean, I didn't have a ton of concerns about the Chiefs coming in. I mean, I feel like I've heard that they've had a really hard schedule off the bat. So I think they're going to play like 6 or 7 like tough opponents right out of the gate, like 500 plus teams are better from last year. But I think more of my focus just goes on the Arizona Cardinals and how this team's just kind of like soulless. I mean, Murray gives me some vibes like he doesn't want to be there, even though, he just signed this extension and, his contract's really pretty. It's just kind of like, hey man, you're not doing your reading. Last year's effort just kind of seemed like, if this kid's really all that we think he is, if he's a number 1 pick, if he's, got the athleticism and the arm, he can play 2 sports. Like he's got to like turn up the leadership quality of his game, like a little bit more. Like, I just feel like he needs to care a lot more. Like he could be a Russell Wilson type. Like he's got a lot of the, same traits, a lot of the same like physical athletic traits as like a Russell Wilson, but maybe it is like a guy like Russ and his character and, his ability to lead that really, puts him on another shelf when it comes to winning ball games and, being a leader for a franchise. And there's something missing there for Kyler Murray when I just kind of see how him and Cliff Kingsbury have gone along and how this team has just kind of literally stayed like this, like the entire time. I mean, they were pretty bad his first year, but I just can't put my finger on it. I mean, the defense, they got picked apart. I mean, 44 points. I mean, it is KC. Like they are going to score, but I'm just trying to find like what's going to be what's the upside here with the Cardinals. I mean, they play in the NFC. Maybe that's it. Maybe score some easy victories to put them into playoff contention. But anytime they've got a real game, they just always seem to fall flat. And I just feel like it's hard to find a good quarterback in the NFL. Like it truly is hard to find like that franchise guy, but he puts together another mediocre season. Like we're just going to start thinking of him as like the Arizona Cardinals version of Dak Prescott. And it's like, yeah, he's kind of proved that at this point, like we see the great, but it's just not consistent enough.
Yeah, I know for sure. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like all the talent in the world seems like, I know he's not like 6'5" or anything like that, but has a very offensive minded coach. They're trying to he's got good wide receivers overall. I know he doesn't have he has an older AJ Green and doesn't have Hopkins for a couple weeks here, so to start the season, but there's definitely enough talent around him on the offensive side. It's just, yeah, for whatever reason, being able to take things, I think the idea is like playing up to like the level of a game, or hitting that moment there. The Cardinals, they always seem like the team that is going to win, or they always have like a good start of the season, but they never know how to finish towards the end of the season, I guess, when things get colder. So if that's going to be their whole thing, and hey, they lost to the Chiefs, like that's the Chiefs are the Chiefs, so it's hard to knock on them for this game particularly, I guess. But at the same time, like you got to be elevating your game when you're going against the Chiefs here at home and everything. So if they can rise up to the competition against great competition, even a little bit shorthanded, not having Hopkins, then it's like, okay, great, maybe they're taking those steps, but right now they're not necessarily taking steps. Like Kyle Murray's, numbers, at least statistically, just they kind of plateaued. It hasn't really developed too much since his like rookie season here. So hasn't had like that MVP kind of season. He started off last season, right there, but then like I said, it was like they definitely taper off towards the end of the season, and that really affects things overall. And so maybe there is a little bit of, I don't know, I guess lack of leadership, or not, the leadership style just isn't matching with the team or whatever. So something like that might just have to give, or otherwise they're just gonna have to kind of accept like where they are right now, which is, I guess that's a good comparison, like that Dak Prescott, good solid numbers, may win some games here and there, but they're not really taking things to the next level, or having those moments of victory, for your team. So almost like an Eli Manning minus the Michael Strahan and killer defense. So
yeah, it's a tough one to weigh. He's got the Raiders and Rams next, so hopefully, for his sake, they get a win or two here, because if they start 0-3, that's going to be hard for them to kind of dig out of, just given where they're at. But I guess moving on to the next one, we have the Baltimore Ravens beating the New York Jets 24-9 in New York. Wayne, pass or grass on this one?
I'll grass the hell out of this too.
Right.
I love my Lamar Jackson. He's my favorite NFL player currently. But it was good to see. I know they didn't have Dobbins, and that was kind of upsetting me for a little bit, having to sit him out. But I played Clyde Edwards-Helaire and got, he had 2 touchdowns, so I wasn't too depressed about that. But Lamar looked pretty decent. I know he had that one pick, but that was, he kind of was just launching it, and got them. It was kind of like a punt in a way too. So don't want to knock on him for that necessarily, put too much weight on that. There's definitely been all this knock about him not being able to pass the ball deep and stuff like that. Like he's okay. He's okay. Had a couple passes to Duvernay for touchdowns. I think both like went over 20 yards, I believe. And then there was one he launched to Bateman too. So his deep ball is fine, man. His deep ball is fine or whatever. Didn't have the running back help necessarily, but definitely willed the team. So almost kind of like what last season was, in a way that like starting off the season a little bit hurt or shorthanded there. Defense looked great though. I know it was the Jets, and Flacco passed like almost 60 times, I think, like ridiculous numbers here, but defense looked great overall. I think if I had my way, I probably would have picked the Ravens defense. Just all the playmakers they got. They got the best secondary, I think, in all the NFL. It was Marcus Williams actually got a pick here too. Was their new sign, and several sacks. With Justin Houston, Patrick Queen had a half sack here too. So along with Matabuke and Calais Campbell too. So this defense is going to carry them, I think. until maybe like Dobbins comes back. But overall impressive game, I think, from the Ravens, and the Jets are the Jets. So
yeah, this game was like the New England Miami one for me. I mean, it was very predictable and kind of how it went and what the outcome, most likely would be. My buddy on Sunday, as I was leaving the weekend, I was out in Charlottesville. He goes, "Hey, I have got a parlay going. I got to nail, all 6 of these picks." But one part of his parlay was Joe Flacco going over 236 passing yards, and I literally had the biggest smirk on my face and was like, "Oh, like I want to be supportive of this parlay, but man, you picked Flacco going over." And what does he do? He throws for 309 yards. I was like, good for Joe Flacco, man. Like out of everything that came from this game, nobody will talk about it, but like he's still going, man. He is still going against his former team. That Super Bowl win of his now feels like, decades ago at this point. But anyways, man, very predictable. Without Zach Wilson, it's like hard for us to really evaluate like where are the Jets at now and where can they go. For Baltimore, this is just business as usual. So I think you covered it pretty well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it was like Michael Carr's gotten the reps here, 10 carries over 6 for Breece Hall, at least initially right now. So, and 7 receptions versus 6 actually for Breece Hall here. So, but then again, how many times are we going to expect Joe Flacco to pass 59 times? We'll see. But yeah, can't always rely on that.
Yeah. Next game, we had the Jacksonville Jaguars losing to the Washington Commanders 28-22. Wayne, pass or grass?
Yeah, I'll take this. I really have one thing to say though, is Carson Wentz, man. How about that? Like,
let's go.
Come back, come back with 4 touchdowns. Like, like, hey, I think a lot of people discredit him as like, oh, he's being passed around, like, so now he's like at the Commanders, like, you know what? I just want to stay and chill here. Like, so if that's the case, hey, let's win some games. So good on him. Jaguars, is Doug Peterson the first game of the season with the Jaguars here. And I think they're going to be better this season because they couldn't really been worse, I guess, with Urban Meyer. But, like maybe not the best start to the season, obviously for a Jaguars fan, coughing up a lead like that to Carson Wentz, but at the same time, hey, it was nice that they were, ahead and everything. And Christian Kirk had a good game. I'm definitely high on him for fantasy perspective here. They just young team and made some, young team mistakes and couldn't finish the game off here, essentially. Yeah, to Carson Wentz. But hey, good on Carson Wentz for pulling this off.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I feel like long ago we did a review of some kind on quarterbacks in the NFL or teams or whatever it was. And I feel like making a plug for Carson Wentz going to the Commanders might have been like the offseason signings or something. This guy has a pretty good career TD to interception ratio. He also has a career record over 500. I mean, we can talk all things we want about the guy and like blowing certain games or having an attitude about competition, whatever else it is. But I still think this guy's a good passer. I still think he's capable of winning NFL games. And with where the Commanders are, they need a guy who can just kind of right the ship. I mean, they're almost like in a Colts situation, with a guy like Wentz, because it's, I think in Washington here, a lot of folks are, we're salivating over their front four. Chase Young, Montez Sweat, others is like this defensive unit is like what's going to carry us. And that was the narrative going into last season. Lose Landon Collins, and overall it was kind of a subpar year for them. And, offensively they weren't very good, but it's like, if the defense can be something more than average, and you've got on the other side of the ball, you got Wentz, tossing balls, to McLaurin, and they got John Dotson had a couple of scores. Curtis Samuel came back from injury, and he was like all over the field for them on offense. And Logan Thomas might have, a decent season too. It's kind of like, I feel pretty good about Washington. I guess in my own preseason predictions, I had them, winning maybe being a second place team in that division. Dallas falling behind. This was pre, Dak injury or what have you. But No, man, I think they can be. I think they can be. Around 500. And I think the funniest thing is me and my father-in-law both have a bet on this year. He thinks the Bears are going to win 8 or more games. So we have a bottle of whiskey on that, and then I have the Commanders winning 8 or more games because he's so negative on the Commanders. And I'm like, man, I think they can win eight or more ball games this year. I think that's a feasible outcome for this team. So I'm on the Wentz train somewhat. I'm not going to just rule him off just yet.
Yeah. And hey, with Dak Prescott out, for several games, it appears, right? Hey, maybe the Commanders, I don't know if they're going against them in the next couple games, but if they are, that could be a nice win for them. And, like you said, it seems like when you have a good defense, like your offense kind of just has to be formidable oftentimes, right? And that's certainly like what Carson Wentz is all about. And like you said, when you have a great front four like that, I mean, Eli Manning, like he was able to pull that off, with regards to their line and, beating Tom Brady and the Patriots and winning Super Bowls that way. So, sometimes that's just all what you need there. So, and go Dotson too. I picked him up like one of my late picks and everything. And I got 2 touchdowns. So excited about that. Hopefully he gets more targets in the future. So,
yeah. Also give a shout out to James Robinson. Just a small plug. I mean, to be able to kind of split work with Etienne coming back from his own Achilles injury. He just got a pretty good amount of carries, good, yards per attempt. He put up about 19 to 20 points in fantasy, even though he was stashed on my bench. I just kind of like have renewed confidence for him. I felt good about taking him like later on. I didn't expect much, but to kind of see him show out a little bit and say like, hey, I'm still here and I can be a starting running back in the game. Like he's going to get his work for sure. So he'll be a good piece with Trevor Lawrence this year.
Yeah. One more thing with Trayvon Walker too. That was an awesome interception from a defensive lineman too. So like interception, sack, the same game. Like defensive lineman. That's a hell of a debut. So yeah,
absolutely. Moving on to the next one. This is a good division matchup here, but the Las Vegas Raiders against the Los Angeles Chargers. Wayne, pass or grass?
I'll take this. Yeah, I have some investments in here, so yeah, I'll grass it for sure then. Devontae Adams, he's on my fantasy team. Love him. 10 receptions, had a touchdown as well. So solid game from him. But then, Chargers are Chargers, man. That defense, Khalil Mack, he was killing it with Bosa. Like those two are gonna wreak havoc. I know Carr didn't have the best game too. Coughed up several turnovers that really cost them. You can't really be doing that against an offense like with what the Chargers have. And the Raiders, they were definitely trying to make that comeback. But yeah, like I said, when you have that defense and also the offensive power that the Chargers have, it's going to be really difficult to come back. Especially with those pass rushers, when all they know is that you're going to be passing the ball, on every single down essentially in the fourth quarter. So that was just hard. But yeah, early on in the first half, the Raiders made way too many mistakes, and that really just cost them. And it was hard to keep up for them, but it was nice that they made some efforts. So, but I do believe that the Raiders, they're going to be contenders in this division. Like I know everybody got better in the division, but Derek Carr definitely is a formidable quarterback. Passed for almost 5,000 yards, right? Like last season, right? And now he's adding Devontae Adams. Like I think they're going to be fine overall. Josh Jacobs looked pretty decent. Just some things on the offensive line. Obviously, hopefully you're not going to be going against Bosa and Khalil Mack every single game too. But I think to me at least this speaks well for the Chargers and just kind of like with the balance that team has and how much talent they have. They're definitely going to be wreaking havoc, I think, in the future. And yeah, I think that's essentially why Justin Herbert looked pretty good. He's my MVP pick, and I kind of called all this. Like the defense is going to get them opportunities, and they're gonna that offense is going to take advantage of it, I feel like. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going the opposite way with the Raiders. Just 6 sacks allowed. They tossed 3 picks. I think that might change a little bit. I think Carr's a tick better than that. But just feel like from what I've heard about their O-line, and you kind of, walk into a division where Broncos are pretty formidable on the defensive side. Obviously the Chargers beefed up this year on their own defensive side of the ball. It's just like to play those teams each twice. I think they're gonna take their lumps when they play any of their division opponents. That's just my own kind of opinion on it. But no, overall the Chargers look extremely solid. Probably would have liked to see them maybe it was a tough matchup, I guess, in the division to kind of start off the year, but I just see bigger things for them on the offensive side. I could see Herbert having, much bigger games with Mike Williams. I feel like he was kind of quiet. Keenan Allen got his work as usual. Eckler, a little bit quieter of a game for him, even though he was involved on the ground and in the air and things like that. But no, I mean, not much else to say about the outcome or the game itself. I think Chargers are definitely going to be in this as very serious contenders, and those were my thoughts on the Raiders.
Gotcha. Yeah, but I mean, those Chargers, man, this team looks deadly. It is nuts. And yeah, Bryce Callahan, like I think that was like one of the underrated signings that maybe doesn't get talked enough, but like he was like the best nickelback in the game. So like when you have that in this league, and then they also have a Sonny Samuel Jr. and who they got? J.C. Jackson, right? So when you have Mr. Interception, so when you have those 2 cornerbacks, and then Bryce Callahan,
Derwin James,
and Derwin James,
just hanging out.
The best safety in all the game, man. And 2 of the best pass rushers too, like.
It's serious, man. It's very serious. Like
it is.
This isn't just like a fun team to get behind. I think it's like it wasn't just about splashy signings. It's like, these guys get some continuity together. There's enough, star power on that entire team on both sides of the ball. They're very similar to the LA Rams of last year and the year before.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. They're just maybe a tad younger, I think.
And a much better quarterback, right? Like,
Herbert, man, and my MVP pick. So
it'll be fun. Cleveland and Carolina. Cleveland, eked one out, 26-24 on the road. Wayne, pass or grass?
I'll pass it off to you. I want to hear your take on this whole Mayfield and his almost revenge game.
Yeah, that one, it's just tough, right? Like, I don't love Baker Mayfield, but in the same sense, like, when you hear the rumors coming and it's, getting publicized and, you've got a big ego like he does, you're a really competitive person, kind of always playing with the swagger and being like, it's real out there is like the number 1 pick. It, like, of course he's going to be like just completely butthurt that like, hey, we're going to sign this guy who's probably not going to play until week, 55. And you're out. But we still want you to come back and be his backup. Does that sound pretty good? It's like, so of course, like Mayfield's upset. Like he says his stuff. It was very, immature at the time. It's not, something a leader would probably say again. So important from the quarterback position. And just kind of led to like, just a divorce of franchise and quarterback. And he found a place for himself in Carolina. Like, not to say that, I have high hopes for the Panthers this year. I think there's still, a lot of pieces away from being, true contenders. And it's hard to just put a quarterback, of average to maybe above average talent into a new system and just expect it to like take off. So yeah, I think he did what he needed to do to win that ball game. And, he got God on a field goal, and it was probably a sour taste in his mouth. He's probably really still stewing over that one for sure. Especially because there's just a lot of contention between him and Cleveland on the way out. But, from Cleveland's side of the ball, it's just kind of Jacoby Brissett, obviously is like just a very bad quarterback. I mean, backup at best at this point in his career. I don't expect him to do much week in, week out, especially with a couple good wide receivers, But, I think they make their, money on their running backs, and it's like, you just got to hand it off to Chubb and dump it off to Kareem Hunt. And like, those guys are going to give you a chance. And, they do have one of the best rosters on paper. They really do. Outside of quarterback right now, like, you just drop a great quarterback in there and that team is like a locked and loaded playoff contender. But it's, gutsy on their end, like, I think everyone's doubting them. I think everyone kind of expects them to kind of fall over until, Deshaun Watson comes back to save the day. But, I think, they'll show probably, in the next several weeks here, probably up to midway through the season. Like, I think they'll play hard and they'll play, some close football games, but, maybe they'll be slightly under 500 if I were to just put a prediction out there by the time Watson gets back, but it could make it interesting toward the end of the year for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I know I'm looking at their schedule right now, and it's like they got the Jets, they got the Falcons, they got the sexless Patriots, Dolphins. Like, these are definitely Texans too. If you want to put them in there, we can talk if we talk about them later. But there's definitely a lot of winnable games. I feel like for them, that they can pull off. And like you said, they are probably, like, again, on paper, like one of the most talented teams rosters in all football. Like, like right up there at probably with the Chargers. And then they just don't have they just right now have a backup quarterback in play as they're waiting for Deshaun Watson with all that guaranteed money sitting around. So, if that's the case, then, I think they could probably easily be 500. And I don't know how this will look like if and when like Watson just kind of jumps right in and just like, is he able just to hit that stride and like, elevate the Browns and take them to the next level? Or, they could honestly probably, run into some hurdles here and there or some growing pains. So like that could always happen too. So, but yeah, like at least for this season, like with Watson, probably not going to come on. I don't think there has been an update from the whole 11 game suspension, if I'm not mistaken. So, just looking at this whole record here, then it's like, like at least probably 500, if not more, with at least like 3-4 winnable games here, I feel like. So, they're definitely setting themselves up at, for success, I think, in the future. But with the Jets next week, I mean, that should be fun in Cleveland. So, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. I just pulled up their schedule, and like you were saying, I mean, feasibly, they could start off 5-1. They could start off 5-2, 6-1. Like there's some games up front where, they'll compete for sure. And like, if it just bounces their way, I mean, I could see them, carrying a victory out of it. So yeah, I mean, it's so important for them without Watson to get as many victories as possible early on, so you don't have to play catch up. But it's not to say like once Watson comes in, it's like game over or anything like that. Like he's still going to have to learn this offense and learn, the rhythm of the game again. He's been gone for nearly almost 2 seasons at that point it'll be. So it's it's not like you could just hand over the keys and it's going to be like smooth sailing. But in any case, with what they gave him contract wise, what team they actually have, like the future looks good. Just depends on like how long that future is going to be with this whole core together. So we will see. But I guess week 1's in the books for them, and good on Cleveland. The next one, we had the Indianapolis Colts and the Houston Texans. They ended up tying 20-20. Wayne, pass or grass?
I will grass this. Davis Mills, man, this guy's like up and down, but he has like I think the second best quarterback rating from last year's quarterback class, at least right now. I think it's like Mac Jones and then Davis Mills. So he had a pretty overall decent game. Definitely missed some throws here and there. But he's looking pretty good. He's looking pretty good for like that third rounder. The Minnesota Vikings picked Kellen Mond actually one pick ahead of him. So Kellen Mond just got released during training camp. So just imagine what would have happened if the Minnesota Vikings drafted Davis Mills instead, and he's kind of putting up these numbers, except now Justin Jefferson he's passing to as opposed to Brandon Cooks. So, but he's doing pretty well overall. It's nice to see Lovie Smith at least compete. They had a 20-3 lead going to, I think it was like the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken. So blew that lead and ended up at a tie, which is like, I feel like that's like, these two organizations, these past couple of seasons, it was kind of written like that something like this was going to happen. So, but yeah, nice game by Pittman. That was one of the reasons why I drafted him, which is I just knew that with Matty Ice now passing and everything at quarterback, he's going to get some receptions and be targeted a bunch because he's a stud at wideout. Big game by Jonathan Taylor, so both those guys hit really well on the fantasy perspective there. And then defensive side, I know you like the whole IDPs, right, and everything. So Jalen Petre, I think he's like the nickelback for the Houston Texans, got like he was like 10 tackles from the nickelback position. So that was impressive there. Then there was another defensive standout. I think it was Kamu Greiger-Hill, got 18 tackles and a pass deflection too for the Houston Texans in just this one game. So nice defensive showing up from the Houston Texans here, and seems like also nice fantasy points, I think, coming from both Pittman and Jonathan Taylor from the Colts side. But yeah, the tie, come on. That's definitely not fun. So, but hey, whatever. It's the NFL. Rules got to change eventually, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, what would they do? Like, you bring in a running back and put him on the 5-yard line, and go heads up with a defensive player between two cones or something. Like, I don't do that 3 or 4 times like the shootout in the NHL or something.
Yeah, I know. I mean, just go like I feel like they ought to just go like the college football route, right? Like, I think it's like 25-yard line or whatever it is, and then just go back and forth until one of the. Of course, then it's like, oh, you have these like 8 overtime games or whatever, stuff like that. Yeah. But I feel like though, you can't have ties, not even the regular season, or just do what they do in the postseason, and then kind of keep that same thing, for the regular season, something like that. So,
yeah, no, I mean, I think just kind of observing this outcome, it kind of, I feel like it's going to validate my point in week 1 that the AFC South is going to feel like the worst division in football this year. I mean, it's hard to get excited about any of the 4 teams. I think future forecasting maybe, but with the Colts, Matt Ryan threw 50 balls, had a good game. The stars were stars, and it was kind of like the defense held up their end for the Colts. So it's like, why didn't they win this football game? And I just feel like there might be some weirdness coming out of the Colts this year, like if they're not able to like fully put it all together. I mean, I know they were without Shaquille Leonard. He's no longer Darius Leonard. He doesn't like the name Darius apparently, but I think that again, it's kind of like I'm wanting a little bit more from the Colts. It's kind of like a Dolphins situation, maybe a Patriots situation, where it's like, all right, you brought this guy in and he's supposed to be, Carson Wentz's superior. So like, let's see it. Again, week 1, there's a lot of weird things that can happen out of the gate. He's going to, take some time to get to know these guys. But, Matt Ryan, we like to look at him as like this, great leader. Bringing him over is like exciting. Like it's fun because it's Matt Ryan. He was an MVP at one point, but his last 3 or 4 years in Atlanta were pretty forgettable. I know he built some good rapport with Ridley and Pitts. Like he can make receivers good, good ones great, but I'm just missing something here. Like, I don't know. Well, maybe we'll give it a couple more weeks, but this game, AFC South, just seems like a little flat.
Yeah, I know for sure. And hey, kudos to Lovie Smith for getting a tie. Like the Colts were favored by 6.5 and they beat the spread here. So with the tie, nonetheless. But they were my pick for like the sleeper, if you will. So like you said, the AFC South, hey, yeah, they're just not that great looking right now. So
does Lovie get like half a game ball for that? Do they like cut one up and just be like, here, man, we'll give you the other half,
being the spread.
Yeah.
That's not gonna look fishy whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah, there's like $1 million in that football too.
Don't let Tom Brady see this football, please. But all right, well, we have 2 more games, the Sunday night, the Monday night. Wayne, what'd you think of the Sunday night? Tampa Bay 19, Dallas Cowboys 3. Pass or grass?
Yeah. I'll pass on this one. Yeah, I definitely saw it, but yeah, I want to hear your take.
Just that Tampa Bay looks like a Super Bowl ready team. I mean, just absolutely suffocated Dallas on the defensive side. Just like, man, Dallas was playing some weird football. They were like getting all these like no-name wide receivers involved. CeeDee Lamb was completely quiet. I mean, tons of targets, but like no output. Dak gets hurt. He's out 6 to 8 weeks now. I mean, Jerry Jones is calling it 4. I think everyone's arguing about that, that potential and everything, just from breaking your hand and kind of making it, it's a clean break and everything like that. So Dallas, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't high on Dallas to begin with. Just now, I think that there's just way too much hype for what's actually there. Down, some offensive linemen, they're not the same, unit on offense anymore. Zeke is a year older. We talked about this. Pollard, looks nice with fresh legs, but now you're out, Dak for 6 to 8 weeks. You're going to the backup, Cooper Rush, maybe going to the free agency pool, or maybe trying to spin some, low grade trade at this point to just, have a stopgap there. But Dallas, I don't know, extremely underwhelming, but not surprised they lost this football game. Tampa seemingly got Julio Jones, alive and, got him a second life. But sad to see Godwin get injured too. I mean, I feel like they'll like to have him down the stretch, but Tom can make most situations work, depending on who his supporting cast is. But it was just the defense to me, and just Todd Bowles coming out in his first game and just saying like, we're just gonna stomp some teams. And man, I don't know. That's all I really have to say about it. The game was kind of slow moving. It was kind of a bore to kind of sit through, but this is exactly probably how Tampa wanted to start their season.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's like, now's the question more now. It's becoming more distinguished a little bit of, was it Tom Brady adding the sex to the Patriots offense, or was it Bill Belichick? Like how much was how much was what? Obviously Tom Brady went into a better situation, a lot more explosive weapons. Nice nice overall team on the defensive side too. But yeah, like I think that's where Tom Brady just felt like, come on, Bill, you can do more better than this stuff. So, I think that's definitely where Tom Brady definitely seems like he just needed to get out and spread his wings and live free and everything. So, but yeah, I agree. I did pick the Dallas Cowboys to win the division, kind of like as a, whatever, we'll see what happens. They always seem like they always show up more so when, nobody's expecting it. But, with Dak Prescott, I don't think, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen with Cooper Rush as quarterback. And like you were saying, they just seemed like they were just tossing random wide receivers out there, and then, not going to CeeDee Lamb or not having him being targeted as much. So this team just doesn't seem like they're going to have a good season. I think this season, hey, that could bode well or okay for our pick of Micah Parsons as Defensive Player of the Year. He's going to get more reps. So had 2 sacks in this game. So if that's the case, if he's going against teams and they're always losing, whatever, then hey, he's going to be aiming at the quarterback a little bit more often, maybe. So, but yeah, Bucks look really good. Hopefully they'll get healthy, especially down the stretch. And yeah, I know we both picked them to win the Super Bowl. So it definitely looks good overall, but shame that there were some injuries on the Bucs side.
Yeah, I think that's kind of at least looking at what the Bucs did on game one and kind of where we were at preseason predictions for their season. I feel like they kind of cemented themselves as like a Super Bowl contender with that performance. So let's hope everybody stays somewhat healthy, because I would like to see a playoff run from Tampa Bay, whether they win it all or, come close or just fall a little bit short. Like, I think everybody has a vested interest in seeing Tom Brady's team, be in the mix and be like very serious.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And if they're anything like if the NFL is like anything like the NBA with David Stern, then, it's going to happen. It's got to happen. It's too good for TV, I feel like. So, yeah.
Yep. Number eight, get it ready.
Yeah,
for sure. Last but not least, the Denver Broncos going to Seattle. What a, don't want to steal any thunder, but just like, how perfect was that game one to get Denver in Seattle on Monday Night Football? Denver Broncos lose 16-17 to the Seattle Seahawks. Wayne, pass or grass?
I mean, I gotta grass this. Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, like I think I've heard multiple views on like what happened. I think with Russell Wilson, right? Apparently there was this whole thing about he heard, or word got around that he heard that the GMs and the upper management were looking at like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes maybe to replace him, stuff like that, and then he felt slighted, and then ever since then, like that I think that was like I think it was 2018 or 2017, I think, when one of those two got drafted, and it's like ever since then he's felt kind of this distrust with management, and things just haven't been the same. On top of that, I apparently I also saw or hear that a lot of his teammates actually don't like him, like on the defensive side or whatever. A lot of them just like, it seems like he's trying to get all the credit and all that. It's like, hey, we're the Legion of Boom. Like, they didn't, we were the reasons like why we got in the Super Bowl and everything. Like, you tossed the interception at the Super Bowl. Like, it was also your fault too. Like, should he run it at with Marshawn? Yes. But kind of look off, bro. Like, for those quick passes. Otherwise, Butler doesn't come in there and just swoop it all up. So, there's definitely a lot of that. In terms of the game itself, though, like Wilson had decent, good game. Like, I know he had 300 plus yards or whatever, but yeah, didn't have all those touchdowns. But I think the key thing that hurt them was the goal line fumbles, right? So like, yeah, it's like, what is up with Russell Wilson and goal lines are apparently in big games and turnovers? I don't know. But yeah, those turnovers really killed. Definitely were momentum killers in favor of the Seahawks. It definitely looks like Javonte is going to be a pretty decent player overall. I know Melvin Gordon got most of the carries, but Javonte got 11 receptions. That's pretty awesome for PPRs and all that. But I know Judy Smith had that big long touchdown. And going off now to the Seahawks side, Geno Smith looked pretty solid. I think that was the key thing there. That led them to eventually win the game. Had a very formal game, like didn't really make any mistakes. So that's as much as I guess you can ask for from a Geno Smith. So good overall game from the Seahawks, which is one of the reasons why they won. And even though, I don't think they were favored here. And I think that Russell Wilson had some issues like getting the play calls in and all that. So which I'm like, you played there for 10 years, it's loud, right? Like whether you're home or away, like, it's loud. Like you ought to have like said that something in the meetings of like, all right, let's just get the play calls in and then let's go from there or something like that. But yeah, some things were just kind of off and fishy there. But yeah, go Hawks, man. This was a great game for them, great win for them. Hopefully this is for the Seahawks fans' sakes, like this is a start of a somewhat solid season overall. But I know that there's a lot of pickers who are saying doubters that they don't have the team for that. But who knows? The NFL can be crazy. So yeah.
All right. So one question before I start, but if you were at that game, would you have cheered or booed Russell Wilson upon entry or first play of the game, whatever it was? But what would have been your reaction in the stands?
I would have cheered. Maybe like golf clap cheer. I don't know. Like, yay. Yeah. I probably would have done something like that, but because he did take you to the Super Bowl, was like probably the best quarterback you ever had, respect to Hasselbeck or whoever, right? But yeah, like he brought a lot of prominence and stability to the organization. Whether likable or not, I know he's kind of has this preacher boy type of image and everything. Kind of cliche in answers, very kind of the Derek Jeter, if you will, with regards to his answering and kind of dodging some issues here and there and all that. But you got to have some respect, I think, to what he was able to do in the Seahawks and with that. So yeah, I definitely just wouldn't have booed him. Would just be like, hey, it's that guy.
Yeah. That was my biggest problem with it. It just kind of, to be honest with you, and I'm not from Seattle, never been to a game, never lived in the city. But just to kind of see who the Seahawks were pre-Russell Wilson, what they are today, he did a lot for that franchise. I mean, just in terms of, winning a Super Bowl, going to another Super Bowl, getting very close, the numbers he put up as a quarterback, seemingly never got, in trouble, always seemed to be a guy who was a good leader, in the clubhouse. I thought that was pretty weak, to be honest with you, because we saw Freddie Freeman come back. He's now, went to the Atlanta Braves, obviously, for a return game with the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's their biggest rival at this point. I mean, they're arguably Freddie Freeman might be winning a World Series with another team this year that may knock off, their own team. And, fans all kind of gave him, good minute or two of just like complete adulation for everything he did for the Braves. And, I know it's early on in the breakup. It's the first game of the season. He's coming into their house. It's like, I get all that, but I just feel like it would have been nice for him to get, some sort of, maybe it's a pause in the pregame or something, just something that like commemorates like his time with the Seahawks. They get a good cheer and then get on his ass, like once the game starts, boo the hell out of him, be loud. But it just kind of gave me a bad vibe, from Seattle fans in general. Like I thought that was, I guess I wouldn't do that if it was a returning Bears player who, apparently maybe like won us a couple, Super Bowl or what have you. If it was like Devin Hester, coming back and, he's playing with the rival team, he's playing with the Packers, and it's like we all just decide to boo him right when he walks onto the field. I mean, I feel like that'd be kind of messed up. But anyways, do you have any reaction to that? And then I can turn to the game a little bit.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about like Julius Peppers, right? Because he was like my favorite Bears player for a while, like when he signed with us, and then he jumped over to the Packers, and I'm like, oh man, come on! Like out of all the teams and all that, but he was getting paid. He got a couple years with them and everything, and contributed to like some contending teams. So kudos to him for going with that route. But out of all the teams, the NFL, you had to go to pick the Packers, right? So, hey, it's the NFL. Like as a fan though, like if unless the person like flat out said like Seattle Seahawks fans suck or something like that, or did something egregious off the field or whatever, then you can definitely boo them, and a lot of that can be warranted and all that. But for me at least, I never felt like anything that he did was necessarily booable, especially for a player that went to a couple of Super Bowls, won one. It was definitely kind of like cheesy and choir boy and all that, and a lot of people, it's funny, like that's seen upon as a bad thing, but it kind of is, I guess with some NFL players and some fans. So where he's kind of just boring, like very kind of lame in his answer. So, but I'm like, if that's the worst you can say about someone, then it's like, okay, go for that, as opposed to like the Deshaun Watsons of the world, people with track records and stuff like that. It's like, okay, where are we as a society if we're booing the choir boy versus, yeah. And, hey, yeah. And I don't know about this whole thing, I guess, as much, like, that's all I guess I've heard with how he's, kind of taking credit, I guess, from some players or the team success and all that. But at the same time, like, I think he's also taken some of the flack for any of the losses and when they were going through some tougher times too. So, that's just the nature of the quarterback. You're the face of the franchise. So, and he definitely has done a lot for the community too. So, can't knock him for, also visiting children's hospitals and stuff too. So, yeah, I definitely wouldn't have booed him. I think fans were even there. I think they were even kind of, I don't say like on the Instagram or whatever. They're like the post game conference. Like one of the reporters asked him, like, hey, when he came out, we heard a lot of boos. Like, how do you feel about that or whatever? And he was like, I don't know. He was kind of taken aback. It was like kind of being on the defensive, if you will. So maybe definitely felt a little bit bad there. It's like, bro. And I think at the end of the day, it was like, I gave everything I had here. It's like, that's as much as I could do. If that's not good enough for you or whatever, then, okay, whatever. I'm going to move on, make my, $50 million contract here in Denver. And, maybe I'll see you in the playoffs or maybe not playoffs. I don't know about that, but I'll see you later down the road or something like that. So, and this begs the question now is like, will they retire his jersey? Will they, like put him in the Ring of Honor or anything like that? Like, again, this is like their franchise quarterback. So, and they're booing him when he returns. So, I don't know. Maybe the wounds will heal or whatever. But yeah, I don't understand the hate, I guess you can say, from Seahawks fans for him. But that's just me. So
yeah, it's just weird when we're talking about this, and it's kind of like we're comparing Russell Wilson to like a Joe Flacco or a Trent Dilfer, who won a Super Bowl, but it was like they shouldn't have been in the game, or they weren't good enough to lead their team. It's like this guy is like a top 7, top 8 quarterback in the game. Like he is worth $50 million a year. Like I kind of find it funny that they actually thought he was expendable. Like this year, 3 years ago, whatever it is. I mean, guy's a class act. Like I mean, outside of just personality, I mean, his numbers speak for themselves too. I mean, he's constantly, top 6, 7 drafted quarterback. That's not just because, he's a Jalen Hurts type quarterback and can run with the ball a little bit. It's like this guy can pass the football. He's one of the guys, one of the deepest accurate ball throwers in the game. It's like, I just don't get it. There's so many layers to it. It's just like, it's kind of frustrating for him because it's like you're saying, of course they're going to retire this guy's number. Of course they're going to like put this guy in the Ring of Honor or whatever else, like whatever things there could be for Seahawks. Like name 5 more Seahawks that are just like as big as Russell Wilson. It's like you got Marshawn Lynch, Richard Sherman, maybe Sean Alexander, Warren Moon. Like I can't think of many others that I'd be like, yeah, they're better than Russell Wilson. So, it's just too bad, man. That's all I got to say to like kick off the recap of this. I mean, it's supposed to be about the game, but that thing kind of like transcended the game for me because I was like, man, that's fucking weak.
Yeah.
Right. But anyways, man, the game itself, like you were saying, Geno Smith, there was a quote where he actually said, they wrote me off, but I didn't write back. I was like, so good, man. It's so good.
Cold. Like, he was working on that. Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good, man. Like, good for Geno. Like, honestly, like, I was happy to see him like put up a great performance. Like, he barely missed completion. I mean, he barely missed, I think he was almost, at one point, I thought he was like 17 for 18 to like kick off the game. I was like, damn, like go Geno Smith, like brought really good energy. They played really stout defense for what it's worth. Obviously, like you said, the 2 fumbles in the end zone by the running backs were awful. My biggest thing with this game though, was last play of the game, last decision. I was watching the game and I'm like, it's 4th and 5. You got 2 timeouts and there's 20 seconds left. And you just signed this guy for $200 and blah, blah million. And you're just going to walk off the field and let some guy who's never like kicked a 60-yarder, like attempt a 64 when all you need is 5 yards. And like, it's just a bad rhythm setter for the entire year. Like this is how you establish like, I don't even know what to put, like momentum, confidence, superiority in the game. Like you're not just playing the Seahawks tonight. You're playing every other team in the AFC that's watching this game, because you step out and you go, okay, Russ, we don't trust you to get these 5 yards here with 2 timeouts and 20 seconds to go, get us in a better, field goal position. Like, what does that say, man? People were picking apart Hackett about a lot of, decisions. Like, hopefully this is just like goofy game and he gets over that as a coach. But man, just like gut call, there's just no way I would have taken that, offense off the field with the amount of weapons you got on that side, with the running backs, with your receiving core. You got Russell Wilson, like, ready to go, like, back at home. Like, come on, man, like, give it to him. So, the field goal attempt missed, and that was the game. But you have any thoughts on the game or any other things I've said about Russell Wilson and Seahawks?
Yeah, well, yeah, no, I agree with this whole Hackett. I remember seeing that in the clips of the Peyton Manning or the Manning cast or whatever, right, with him and his brother. And I think was this Shannon Sharp, I think, might have been on there too. But yeah, it was pretty funny. They were both like, timeout, call a timeout, like right now. Like, Peyton Manning was saying that, and he's like, the ultimate game managing type of quarterback. I think the idea though is, like, I guess it seemed like Hackett just like knew or just he didn't want to take that chance of that 5 yards. He made up his mind on the field goal, on the 64-yard field goal. It's just like, oh, no big deal. Like, it's like, no, you're not in Denver. Like, so I think he was, he the moment kind of got up to him in that sense, I think. And yeah, like you said, 5 yards, you're paying this guy $250,000 for the next 5 years or something like that. And you don't want to bet that he can get 5 yards for your team when he's already thrown for 340. Like, what's up with that? Especially these days now, like 4th and 5. Hey, yeah, I know it's a gutsy call and everything, but it is the NFL, and people's passing percentages are like 60+% now. So you want to go with that, or you want to go with the guy who's never kicked a 64-yarder. And yeah, you're not in Denver where the air is a little bit thinner and the ball travels a little bit farther and everything. So all those things come into play, and he just made the wrong call, and he's actually admitted it too. So at least he's owning up to it, I guess, is the plus side of that. But at the same time, if there's another 4th and 5, 64-yard field goal possibility, hopefully he learns, like, all right, I'm gonna trust the hands of my $250 million quarterback instead of trying to kick this field goal. So
yeah, because what's the worst thing that could happen? All right, it's game 1. You let Russ go for it. He fails, right? Like, at least you said, like, I trust you to carry us all the way this year. I trust you to be the one who makes the last play of the game. Like, it's just about the messaging around it to me. It's like,
to
just not give him that confidence, to not put it in his hands to lose. It's his game too. It's such a personal game for him. Like, I don't know, man. That's just like,
and he can run the ball.
Yeah, dude.
He can run the ball
just too. Shane Falco that shit over like 5 guys. He wants to, like, just let him do it. Like, I just man. Anyways.
And not to have been worried about I think there's a whole where it's like, oh, if you fail or whatever, then they're gonna just kick the field goal in the next round. But they were down, right? So I think that was the whole thing. Like, so there was absolutely no reason, unless you really believe that McManus could kick that field goal, which, hey, that's good and all, but who are you gonna trust? The kicker that you pay like $3 million for? McManus is pretty good. Like, he's good.
He's good. Yeah,
he's good. So maybe not Justin Tucker, evidently, but still, like, he's a good kicker. But 5 yards, like, if it was like 4th and 20 or 4th and long or whatever, sure, whatever, go for it. You're kind of just playing the odds and the guess and that's it. But 4th and 5, that's definitely doable. Do a rollout or something like that with Russell Wilson. He can use his legs, or he can, identify either Judy or Sutton or whomever. So, but yeah, you pay the quarterbacks the big bucks to make those plays, and yeah, they didn't. They put their trust, I guess, in the kicker's leg for yeah, like a really long field goal, and yeah, now they're getting flack for it. So
Yeah, I mean, it's like, let's not hope they get in that same situation against the Chargers, Raiders, or Chiefs at some point this season, and just don't have that experience of just making that attempt would have gave them some indication, clue of like what their offense is, like how we could fine tune a high pressure play like this. Like it's just all silly to me, but it kind of affirms the fact that they lost this game to the Seahawks, which, is a huge, I think, loss for them off the bat. Just big win for Seattle. Yeah. It's a good way to start the year for them, like build that camaraderie if they are going to have somewhat of a competitive season, like we'll see where it goes. But anyways, so that was week 1, NFL, kind of reaction, review, any other thoughts on NFL before we turn the page?
Well, I did watch one of my friend's Instagram feeds. Apparently, he sat right behind Sean Kemp actually during the game. So it's so funny. It's like, I would be mad a little bit. I'm like, out of all the people, the 6'10", basketball player for the Seahawks, or the Supersonics, but at the same time, that's pretty cool. So, and hey, everybody's standing anyways. I think a lot of people are saying most of the game, like it was a nuts game. So, but yeah, it was pretty fun to seeing him, and then seeing Sean Kemp, like that looked like a hell of a time. Like that looked like a hell of a game for sure. So yeah,
no doubt. Yeah, if anything, I just felt really good about the Super Bowl prediction teams that I have in there. I'm sure you do too. Just like a good week 1 for the big boys to establish themselves. And
yeah,
anyways, looking forward to week 2 coming up here. So we'll be sure to get to that as well in the next episode or so. But I guess different sport, some big rule changes for the MLB, Major League Baseball. We can touch on them. We have a new pitch timer that got introduced, will be introduced as of next year. There's new rules on the defensive shift. And also, bringing in bigger bases. So Wayne, if you want, you can dig into any or all of this, but feel free to kick it off.
Yeah, I mean, I like the bigger bases. I think I haven't heard anything like any negative talk or any like other side of it, but it's like it's there to prevent like oversliding. It looks like, and they did try to test this I think in minor league baseball, and it appears like a lot more people were actually trying to steal bases, which that's cool. It's cool. It's fun. Like in the age of Moneyball, right? A lot of teams were discouraging their players from trying to steal bases more so. But now with larger bases, it's a little bit quicker for the players to get to, second base or third base. And then, so that's good. I think that helps with the excitement of the game of, the faster, quicker players, not just, people trying to slug home runs and then, walk and then get to first base and not do anything. Right. So it definitely gets that activity, I think, going on that adds excitement to the game. And then, it does prevent oversliding too. So, you always see those slides and then, they slide off the base and then the second baseman or whoever is trying to tag the person can eventually tag the person again. And it's like, yeah, that's it. I get it, the rule and everything and all that. But at the same time, we're talking about, the sexless games and everything. It's not sexy. It's just not cool. It's not cool. So, I think that's better overall for baseball there. And the shifts and everything, sure, bring them on, whatever. I think they're all fine. They're okay. The pitch clock, it's nice, I guess, that the minor league baseball, there was some experimenting on these rules. The pitch clock, I think the average time was like about 2:30, which is like, okay, that's like, a fairly longer movie and like comparable to the other sports, right? So, if that's the case going forth for, your average MLB game, then I think that's what they can live by. And, I think that's where a lot of fans can get, feel good about getting home and everything during a weekday. So overall, I think, that, and then the banning of the shifts, 4 infielders must be on the dirt, and then two players have to be on each side of, second base. I guess that's fine. I think they were reading some data on that. It's like it shouldn't affect things too much necessarily. The one player, the kind of players that it will affect are those lefty pull players, obviously. So maybe my pick of like Carl Schwarber in my fantasy league, maybe not as much, but he'll still slug a bunch of homers anyways, I think. And then I think the only other ones are the pickoff. So, which I guess I'm fine with. You don't see too many. It'll be interesting, I guess, what happens with like limiting to 2 pickoffs, unless you hit them on the third one, if that does anything for the game. But I think usually that's not always a factor. And nobody also wants to see those like 5 pickoff moves, and then and then the player steals the base. Like I feel like a lot of people just find that annoying more so. Rather than enjoying, I guess, that cat and mouse game. I feel like it's like, okay, 1 or 2 times, the third time, whatever. But eventually we just want you to, pitch the ball so we can go home. So yeah, those are my initial thoughts there.
Yeah. I mean, going through what you said, with the bases, I'm in agreement. I don't know what, it's going to look like per se, or like how big of a difference it will make. It seems like it would be a good way to like safeguard from injury to just like having a little bit more space for the fielder to make the play on a bag and for a runner to have a good lane and, pathway to kind of put a hand in there or whatever else he's got to do to like, secure himself on the bag. I think, just having a little bit more area there to cover is probably good for both defense and offense. Will it lead to more stolen bases? I don't know. Some guy actually said like, you don't see a lot of guys who hit 10 home runs and steal 60 bags making $200+ million in today's game. So, it's more the inverse. I don't know, like, will it really, change the way offenses played with, just a few extra square inches on a bag? Like, I don't really think so, but in the same sense, I don't think this rule will really do any damage. The defensive shift will be interesting. I'm curious if they're going to put any sort of like boundary lines on the field, or if it's just more of like an ump taking a look and being like subjective in his call, or, where the guys are actually aligned. Like, could a guy feasibly, let's call it a left-handed hitter, is the shortstop able to like stand at the very end point of the second base bag where it's like, hey, you still got 3 guys on the right side, like, will it be that close, or is there actually going to be like some delineation between, all right, that's where traditionally a shortstop would align, you're not standing over second base anymore, but like I'm kind of just trying to understand like how that's going to actually look. I did like the fact that they said that an outfielder can come into the infield to make a 4-man infield, but there can never be 4 outfielders, 4 guys on the outfield grass anywhere, which I think, like you were saying, with big bopper lefties, it's been, kind of an annoyance. It's taken away like a guy like, Yasmani Grandal is probably a perfect example of, somebody who's got a second baseman out in shallow right, and then, the shortstop playing on the second base bag. And it's just like, he's got no chance because he can't run. So, Gallo is probably a little bit that way. And I'm sure there's others we could name player by player. But, I think as that rule, evolves, if they can get more and more like delineation of where these guys actually should be standing, I'd like that a little bit more, because I'm kind of a traditionalist, but I also just think like the game's been getting kind of boring, and it's due in part because all these guys are pull hitters for the most part, and all these guys are getting them to like the very worst spots because there's a fielder there. Pitch timer, it's an interesting idea. Hopefully it's not like sweating the pitcher or sweating the hitter too much to be like ready and able to go. I know like these guys are super superstitious, like pitchers with grabbing rosin and hair, and they're licking their their fingers and stuff. There's all sorts of crap from the pitcher. And then from the hitter's side, it's like adjusting the batting gloves, the arm bands, taking a couple practice swings. Like, it's all stuff that's like baked into the game from when we're playing t-ball and little league and stuff like that. You just can't shake if you just get into your own like personal habits. But I think what's in play there, like they want the batter ready to go with 8 seconds left. I think it's fair. That way you can't like delay, pitchers' rhythm, and pitchers are kind of on these short clocks, 15 seconds for empty bag, which I think is totally reasonable. And if there's a guy on base, 20 seconds. The 2 pickoffs too, it's also very interesting. I think that first pickoff move will be like crucial. And if you actually make the play on the second pickoff, like you better have him, because then the guy can just basically have second base on that third pickoff or just on the pitch itself. He can just pretty much go whenever he wants. So all of this stuff to me, I think, is in the name of making this game faster and more enjoyable to watch. I'm very interested to see how this all plays out. I think the one thing that's missing here is mound visits. I think the mound visit is the single most destructive thing in terms of making the game quicker, more fun to watch. You got catchers going out there. You got pitching coaches going out there. You got managers going out there. You've got fielders within the infield going out to chat with the pitcher every other play. And it's like, at some point, there should be, some time that, okay, if you give them like 3 timeouts in a game, 5 timeouts in a game, whatever it is, call it that. But don't allow all this other stuff to happen inning by inning, because it really does suck up probably an extra hour of game time just watching these guys constantly getting breathers and constantly getting coaching advice and player advice and other stuff. So that's my spiel. Any thoughts?
Yeah, instead of mound visits, they ought to do Zoom meetings or something like that. I feel like, just get it on there. Hey, just pop out the phone or whatever in there. Just let it buzz or ring, and then I got to pull it out. Oh, I'm getting pulled out. All right, I guess I'll go now. So because you're getting a Tony La Russa, right? Overweight, old, and everything. They're coming out of the dugout. And how long is that going to take for them to go to the pitcher's mound and all that? Come on, people got places to be and all that. Just give Tony La Russa a phone, have him, do a 3-way call, call the pitcher, call the bullpen all at once. Hey, you're out, you're in. All right, get it done. And then do that switcheroo, as opposed to this whole formal, give me the ball. All right, I'm going to take the ball. All right, I'm going to wait for the guy to come out running or whatever from the bullpen, and then I'm going to hand him the ball. It's get all done on phone, and then just let the pitchers exchange the ball there. And then you won't have that whole, was it Gabe Kapler? I don't know if you saw that too. Gabe Kapler yelling at that, was it Latrell, I think, or whatever, the relief pitcher's name, kind of gave him a stink eye and said some things. And then Gabe Kapler's like, all right, we're going to take it inside. And then I think he got released or optioned or something like that too now. So
and a spanking for sure.
Yeah. And embarrassment too. So that it would avoid that whole situation. Just be like, hey, you're gone. All right, or hey, thanks for the inning and relief or whatever, and for getting this person out or walking the batter here. Let's bring in somebody else to take care of this. So I'm not serious, by the way, but I think that could be maybe I'm a little serious, especially with La Russa. But yeah,
I mean, over the course of the game, this should just, like in football, I think football's established timeouts for the game. You don't see, the offensive coordinator walking onto the field and having a one-on-one chit chat with, his quarterback. And then, the quarterback makes a bad pass, and then all of a sudden the wide receiver is pulling him aside and having a chat with him. It's we got to keep the game going. There's a play clock. There's time, time actually for the game itself. Baseball, obviously we don't have that, but it's it's just those little things, those little things really add up. They really slow the game down. It's just hey, it's okay if he gets, gives up 2 runs or, gives up an extra walk here. It's it should all just become part of the game. It shouldn't be, this tactic. I feel from the coach's perspective, okay, let's go ice the other team on offense. Let's go out to chit chat with our pitcher, get our bullpen guy going a little bit more. It's just it's kind of all, old school baseball. It's proving not to be really great for the game from a fan perspective. So I'm glad they're trying to get there, but it's they're still a little bit off.
Yeah. I think if they just honestly just lean into technology, give the pitchers headpieces or whatever. Just be
sure,
hey, have them talk. Throw the gloves so that people can't do the whole mouth reading or lip reading or whatever. And then just have a conversation, with your manager, your pitching coach, whatever, on strategy going forth. And then you don't have to worry about this whole sign stealing things or whatever too. Problem solved. There you go. Use technology that 5th graders are using. mind blown. So
yeah. And
yeah.
you and me talked about that. We talked about, just allow all tech to be legal. Just let
Yeah.
it be legal,
Yeah, they're not
Everybody's on the
drugs. Yeah.
right. Everyone's on the same playing field. Everybody has access to all the stuff, wearables, spy cameras, like microphone, whatever it is, man. Just let it all fly, and we won't have
Yeah.
any problems. But no, I'm with you. Tech could totally make this signal calling, or we could make mound visits like 2 seconds long. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, hey, get your shit together, and like it's over, like he just yells at him in his earpiece and it's done.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a mound visit then. Yeah. It's just hey, get your shit together. All right, done. Pitch.
I'm good. Thanks, coach.
Yeah,
10-4. Yeah, we're done. So
okay, you're tipping your pitch. Okay, done. No 30-second mound visit from an overweight, 70-year-old pitching coach. Like done. Yeah.
Right, man. Nobody wants to see it. Good. So that's the rule changes. Look out for that next year in the MLB. To wrap up, our last topic, the NBA owner of the Phoenix Suns, Robert Sarver, got fined for 1 year, suspended actually. He's gone, and also got a $10 million fine along with it for a lot of derogatory language he had used throughout his office with employees. There was some sexual harassment type, comments, allegations, things that, tie both to race and sex here with the Suns. LeBron James had some stuff to say about it too. But Wayne, do you have any thoughts on, the actual content of what was said? How do you feel about the punishment? How do you feel about, maybe if you saw LeBron James's reaction or other analysts around the game?
Yeah, well, I know LeBron was not a fan of the ruling, which that's definitely a big deal because LeBron's the biggest star in the NBA and everything. So hey, that definitely is not a good look there. Obviously, like with what Sarver's said and the recordings and everything that's been alleged that he's been saying and everything, like it definitely has those that Donald Sterling type of vibes of everything that kind of transpired there. So, I was trying to figure out like what were the differences of like, because Donald Sterling got, like a lifetime ban, I believe, or like it was essentially forced to or pushed to sell the team. So it sounds like, they both said like some really crappy things. One was maybe a little bit more misogynistic, hey, but, not as racist. Hey, whatever, all bad things, definitely not. For it said the N-word and stuff like that. A bunch of things like with making like sexual harassment type of comments, like all these different types of things, very degrading, misogynistic, all the fun stuff that your HR department says not to do. He basically did. So he's the owner and the chief basically for the Suns. So definitely not a good look there. But from my understanding is that. Kind of what's happened or the differences is that nobody prominent within the organization for Donald Sterling really like defended Sterling exactly. But for Sarver, apparently there has been. I think there's been several like former players that have defended him, and then I think a couple people of ownership have also defended him as well, or just saying at least, hey, he's not like a terrible human being or whatever. So I think there's been a couple of things in play that's been the biggest difference there, or that have been major differences there. But I think the biggest difference has to do with this whole like 3/4 vote thing, which I think happened with Sterling. So I think the idea is you have to have like a 3/4 vote from like the NBA owners, I believe it is, or some sort of governance board, I believe actually, in order to basically motion that an owner is to be has to sell the team. That's kind of what happened with Sterling, but those certain things haven't taken place with Sarver. So from my understanding is that Silver or the NBA hired some lawyers, 2 of which were black, and I think 2 of which were women. And then I think the other guy, the other one was probably just a white guy or something like that. And then, hey, they were like, okay, you all figure this out. We're just the NBA. We don't want to be like, telling you what to do or anything like that. But we're gonna pay you to investigate this thing, so get it right. But I think they did all the interviewing, did investigations, looked at did their due diligence, and then came back to Silver with a report. And from my understanding is that Adam Silver was like, oh, okay, that's only, I guess, a $10 million fine, which I guess is the max for an owner, which is, I think that's the biggest thing. Is like, oh, that's it, $10 million fine. That's all you got for billionaire owners, I guess, and then 1 year suspension compared to, say, being pushed to force the team, being basically pushed to sell the team, which it sounds like he's going to be keeping the team. And he only gets, I guess, this $10 million fine and a 1 year suspension. So the things don't add up there, but it seems like it's much more has to do with politics. And, I guess people just like Sarver a little bit better than Donald Sterling. And that those things are kind of playing into Sarver's favor, at least at the moment right now. But those are my initial thoughts. Overall, it just seems like it's much more of a game of politics in terms of the differences between Sterling and Sarver and how things got handled. But, this definitely does not look good, I think, for an owner, especially for an organization, in the NBA, that's, was it like 70-80% black, right? It's like, this isn't going to look good for you going forth.
Yeah. I mean, alongside LeBron, Chris Paul actually spoke out about it too. So said the penalty fell short, which is kind of eye-opening for a player that is within the organization, kind of knows Robert Sarver probably better than a lot of the players around the league do. I guess with the investigation, they found it, his racial comments and such to be like animus, like not hostile or not, with any sort of ill will behind it. I don't know how they come to those conclusions as a committee, outside the organization without, being an employee there, knowing how that kind of felt. Seems weird to me. But, again, I think what you're saying about politics makes a lot of sense. Like if other owners and other players have come to his defense, possibly of, maybe it's a African-American race, I think that would probably have a lot of sway behind it, in his favor. I don't know who the exact players or execs were. But yeah, man, it's we're in a new era. We're in a new day. After the Sterling stuff, I think that was a great comp because once that happened, all those comments were aired and out there. I mean, he was instantly canceled, like instantly like removed. And same for the I'm misremembering the name, but the famous radio host who was talking about the Rutgers women's basketball team and how quickly his airtime got taken away from him, for calling the women and the coach on the Rutgers women's team, a bunch of nappy ... So it's kind of like, those were even, instances that happened, 10, 15 years ago at this point. I mean, that's kind of ways away in kind of the era we live in now with racial equity and, kind of how serious we're taking this stuff, post George Floyd. It seems kind of funny, especially from a league like the NBA who's done so much, good for the world of sports. I mean, I feel like they're kind of like the organization to kind of model after in a lot of ways, like given all the problems the NFL has had with the Patriots along the way, and then Daniel Snyder also getting off the hook for his own BS within the, Redskins / Commander organization. So it's kind of like, MLB is the MLB. We know it's, complete joke. So not much to say, but yeah, disappointing. But man, that legal investigation must have been pretty convincing on Sarver's side. That's all I can say.
Yeah. The Rutgers, the radio host was Don Imus.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, I forgot who exactly it was, but that's said it and all. But actually, I think Larry Fitzgerald is a part owner. I forgot if he said anything with regards to Robert Sarver, but I know he's a part owner, so he definitely knows, I guess, Robert Sarver, and maybe if he has said anything, then that definitely adds a lot of legitimacy because, Larry Fitzgerald is like, kind of a godsend, I guess, in the Arizona. So it says Larry Fitzgerald among Suns co-owners supporting Sarver. At least I think this was like 2001. So I'm not exactly sure if this was. Oh, it is something similar to issued statement disputing racism and sexism allegations. So at least this was last year, from my understanding here. So it was essentially when the investigation started. I think, yeah, it's taken basically since then for them to come up with this conclusion. But yeah, it looks like Larry Fitzgerald issued a statement disputing racism and sexism allegations against Robert Sarver. Yeah, this was like October and then like November of last year. So, maybe things are different. Maybe it feels different now. I'm not too sure, but when these initial allegations came out, he was there to defend him, and then maybe who knows if Larry Fitzgerald has seen the reports and is like, I take everything I say back. So who knows? But yeah, when you do have somebody like Larry Fitzgerald, somebody with a lot of clout within the Phoenix, Arizona community, that definitely shows a lot of weight. So it seems like there is more politics, I think, and that's why he hasn't been kicked out, at least at the moment. But I do agree, at least in comparison to Donald Sterling, this is definitely a slap in the wrist, with that regard. So there's Robert Sarver. He's got to have, I don't know, he's got to have something on somebody in the NBA office, or he just has a lot of good friends. So it just appears like that.
Yeah. I mean, some of the stuff, the Phoenix Suns, to a completely lesser extent, the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, if you're a player in one of these one of these players in these leagues and you're a free agent, or you get traded somewhere and they want to extend you, it's like, do you want to play in a place that, has ownership like that? Or one with the Washington Commanders? Do you want to play for, no offense to the Seattle Seahawks, maybe this is just an isolated thing, but do you look forward to playing for the Seahawks if you feel like, hey, I can put my best effort for, I can be DK Metcalf today, give you 5 incredible seasons with 1,000-yard, seasons, 100+ catches, and when I leave this city, you guys are just going to do nothing but boo me. I know this is a one-time thing, but I just kind of think of these little things, and as a fan, as somebody who would want the very best for my organization, anytime there's problems like this, if it's a Tony La Russa situation, he goes out tomorrow and gets a DUI and we still let him manage, it's another black guy. It's another thing that I think players think about, that I think the fans and kind of the whole ecosystem around that organization can kind of start to, weaken when you allow, standards to be bent like that. So, it's disappointing, but, we'll see what happens, I guess, going into the following season for Phoenix.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. When you don't believe, or when you don't have that trust, or you don't feel safe within, the higher ups in your organization. Even if when you're being paid millions of dollars, or even with that, it's NBA players, they have a lot of clout. They essentially run the NBA, right? So they have the NBA Players Association. They all have larger social media followers than especially with Devin Booker and Chris Paul there. They have a lot more clout than, from the player standpoint, with their own individual brands, because they're all both global. Whereas, the Phoenix Suns, they're not like the Houston Rockets where, people in China are still cheering for them because of Yao Ming and stuff like that. They just don't have that clout. People are going to follow along Chris Paul more so than the Phoenix Suns in this case. So, but no, that is a good point with regards to, if an organization is looked bad upon, or, the players, word gets around that a certain organization, I think that was something that maybe the Bulls have went through a little bit there with regards to, the leadership or the organization just, what it wasn't a good spot for, getting NBA talent, because I guess how they treated some NBA players in the past, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, etc. Then it's okay, that's not an organization I want to be part of, so I would not want to sign there. And then with now the Commanders, and then now the Phoenix Suns, it's all right, well, these guys are a little bit racist, so I don't want to play with these guys. So I get my 3 years. I'm done with my rookie contract. I'm gonna see what else is out there. I'm gonna play for maybe the Miami Heat and go through that Heat culture or whatever. So but I think these pro athletes, when you have a lot of talent, when you got leverage, you have choices. So why not pick somewhere where you can feel good and win or make a lot of money and or go to an organization that's in a state that has no state income tax and just kill it there. So yeah.
I mean, basically, they just have to find the Donberry Thrashers of whatever we're gonna, whatever league they're a part of. But now, so that I think it's a good conversation to have. I mean, 5 N-bombs were dropped out of his mouth inside the organization. Like that's a lot, man. And I don't know how you can walk away as a committee and say like he didn't really mean ill will by that. It's like people make that mistake once and they're crucified. Well, this guy makes that mistake 5 times, and it's like, oh, okay, like,
well,
he's not a bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, we look at with Joe Rogan, like he got a lot of flack for that somebody made a compilation basically of him saying the N-word throughout like his podcast and stuff like that, and then so you're gonna knock on him, but you're not gonna knock on this guy just because he's not as famous or he's not against your own political beliefs or whatever. Or against your team, your side, like then that's hypocritical. Then you're not as good as what you think you are, essentially. So, there's essentially there's this 2 sides of like, okay, then you're basically saying one thing and acting another way. So yeah, it's not a good look then if you're going to decide for one and for like another in that sense. But yeah, it's not a good look for the Suns. So I don't know how long this Sarver person's gonna last there.
It's true, yeah, because I think the consequences will be very quiet, if anything. Like it'll be kind of that implicit decision that players make. Like, yeah, I can choose between Phoenix and Denver. All right, like I'm gonna lean Denver. It's could be one of those situations where it's like not really talked about, but in the same sense, it's like avoided in a lot of senses. So we'll see. I don't know if you had any parting thoughts. I didn't have any, new fast food items to pitch here, but did you have any just general thoughts or anything else you want to share before we break?
Well, I'm reading some news here, at least according to NBC News. Bami and Omakase has finally joined the looks like the American Dictionary, I believe here. So kudos, to the Vietnamese and Japanese communities for having their foods join the illustrious, I guess, Webster Dictionary here. So
banh mi wasn't in the dictionary?
yeah, apparently the banh mi is now in the English dictionary now, apparently. So yeah.
Jesus, man. You ever go on the north side of Chicago, it's like every few blocks you'll see banh mi on the windows,
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Shout out to the Uptown neighborhood, which I live just north of it. So, and spend quite amount of time and money on my fair share of banh mi's. So, yeah.
Cool, man. The only thing I'm looking forward to this weekend, I'm going to Columbia, South Carolina to hopefully see Spencer Rattler and my Gamecocks knock off the defending national champ Georgia Bulldogs. In the Palmetto State should be a fun weekend, but definitely looking forward to some football, both college and pro while I'm there. So, I'll be sure to report back on our next pod. But with Wayne Pua, I'm Patrick Miller signing off for the Ball and Breakfast podcast.